So I wanted to share this with you because, to be honest, it's just crazy. Inside of 2 weeks, I found 3 of these things lying by the road or set out to the bin. This was just outside my neighbour's house. I can't believe it. It's another exercise bike. I mean, 3 of them in 2 weeks. Madness. Okay, so I've taken the outer covering off and we can see the mechanism here. I mean, it's very different from the other 2 mechanisms that we explored. Well, I mean, in implementation it's different. In actuality, of course, it's the same. They're all the same. They're meant to give you some kind of resistance. This thing uses this big wheel here, which is a bit of pressed steel, presumably to give air resistance. I mean, it seems a bit pointless and a little bit, I don't know, gimmicky, really. On the other side is a tensioned friction belt that rubs in a pulley, so clearly the resistance is meant to be applied by that tension belt, and you increase it by twiddling this little knob here, and it's like a brake cable. It pulls on a spring, pulls on the tensioning belt, and the tensioning belt's right there. Let me swap that round. There it is. There you go. There it is, right there, the tensioning belt. That bit, it's a gimmick, no idea why. Then you've got this beautiful chain set here from this large sprocket to a very small sprocket on this wheel. Chain's a bit worn, it's a bit slack, as you can see. Then we've got a chain set here driving this one from the actual pedals themselves. So it's a curious mix of actually very nicely made, I mean, you know, using chains for power transmission, top end stuff, to very flimsily made, like this bit of pressed steel air resistance wheel. But it is a wheel, it's true, it's got an axle, it's got a frame. There's a fair few bits on there we could possibly use. So I'm going to disassemble it some more now, not just take off the case, and have a think about what we might do with these mechanisms here. Because to be honest, I don't really know at this stage. I'm kind of exploring. And I think when you're doing this kind of stuff, there's a great deal of that goes on. You have a look at what it is that you've got and then what you might possibly do with it, rather than having a sort of a fixed idea. I mean, we know we want to do some kind of generation, but just not sure what kind at this stage, because we don't know the intricacies of the mechanism. And you're going to find the same things when you pull apart other exercise bikes. You're not going to find exactly the same in one brand and another. And that's no surprise. They need USPs for a brand. And you're going to have to do a little bit of thinking about what it is you're going to do with it and how you're going to do it. Anyway, let's take a few bits off here and see what we can see. Okay, so I've chopped most of the bike away. I mean, I have kept the bits because we've got things like this and they're going to be useful at some stage or other, but we've done kind of gearing with the pulley systems and the other bikes that we used, and I was really fascinated by this actually. Now I think it was a gimmick, remember, because it was just, what was it called, an air bike or something like that. If you remember, these bottom bits were bent out at 90 degrees to either side of the plate. What I've done is flatten them, put a slice in here and bend them out to make this kind of fan blade arrangement, because I think it might be interesting to see if we can make this a wind turbine. Now obviously there's nothing on this, it's just a free spinning wheel. But I'm going to take that in the wind and see if the wind will actually turn that fan blade that we've just made. So it's quite a light breeze and yet it's spinning away. Now obviously it's got, the only load it's got is its own flywheel actually. It's really under no load whatsoever, so I'm kind of not surprised, but it is cool that it does that given the modification we've done. Clearly what we need to do now really is stick some magnets around it and put a coil in there and see what we can generate out from it. That's actually quite awesome. Okay, I've set it up outside. I can tell you it's raining and not particularly breezy, and I've put one coil right there. And I'm reading the voltage now. It's actually at 4 volts. So, to be honest, I think that's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, okay, I need to put it on load. So there's the coil, right there. It's just one of those coils I took out of a synchronous motor, one of the turntable motors from a microwave, and that's the only thing that I'm collecting from. So it's coreless, and it's a single coil. So there we go, yet another thing that you can do with an exercise bike. I mean, I know that this was perhaps unusual because it was a kind of like special design. I think it was from the 80s, to be honest. But when you think about it, how many exercise bikes are being thrown away when I can stumble across 3 in 2 weeks? It's really quite odd, to be honest. But you can do things with them. Now, the thing that you do is going to depend on the internal makeup of the bike that you find, clearly. And so what you have to do is have a look and see what there is that you might be able to do with it. I mean, this thing, we had to saw it and hammer it a bit into this fan blade shape, and we made it into a wind generator. The other ones we've made into hand crank generators. We've made a test bed out of one. You put a water wheel on one. You can maintain the gears if you like. There's just such a range of things that you could do with them that it's really up to you. Now this is a north-south magnetic arrangement. I'm using neodymiums here, and they're going across this single coil. So without a doubt, if we had a whole load of coils, we'd get some pretty good results. Now when the wind was blowing, it reached up to 5 volts actually. It was putting out something like 20 milliamps or so on that little coil. Sure, we do have to put it under load, but I'm not doing that in the rain, and I don't feel like doing it now, because there's other work to be done on this. I mean, I think this is just showing that we can do it, rather than this is what you do. It's possible to do all of this stuff, and there are people who know far more about this than I do who would make a better job. But equally, if you have a look for those kind of things around that you can adapt and change and make into useful pieces of equipment instead of throwing them away. I mean, really, stop throwing things away. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for watching.